Hey everybody, Bennett McDowell here with traderscoach.com and welcome to the client support webinar for July 20th, 2022. Great to have you all here and hope you're having a good summer out there. All right, so before we get going, Jean, let me just bring you on and see if you have any announcements.
All right, well, everybody, welcome. And if you can hear us and see the webinar screen, just give me a hello in the questions area. And hi there, Aggie, good to see you. So just wanted to mention to everybody that we are just finishing signing a contract with the hotel for our trading summit here in San Diego for September. And if you're interested in finding out more information, maybe just give me a hello in the questions area or a, something in the questions area just to say, yes, I want more info. So Aggie, you want more info? Okay, great. We'll send that to you. So yeah, just let me know if you want more info and I will send that to you. All right, well, Bennett, back to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jean. All right, yeah, a little bit more on the summit. This is something we hold annually, and it's really great. It's a great time. It's an in-person situation, but we also broadcast it. So if you're in a situation where you just can't travel to San Diego, then you can watch the online presentation, and basically it's live, and we also record it. So you can watch it live and then watch the recording too. So it's kind of something, in terms of the presentation for everybody. Some people don't want to travel these days, and that's fine. That's why we do the live presentation with the recording. Or if something comes up in the last minute and you can't make it, then you can do it that way as well. So, kind of cool the way, and it was really, we've done it now 2 years. It's really a lot of fun. And we usually like day trade the markets and do all this kind of stuff. So it's pretty good. All right, so let me go through my administrational items, and I got a couple things I want to cover. Feel free to start asking questions if you want. First thing I cover is the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, there are risks in trading. It is possible to lose some or all your money trading the financial markets or even investing in the financial markets. But, that's the way it goes. No risk, no gain, right? So it's kind of everything in life is like that. So what we want you to do is trade with risk capital. This is money you can afford to risk in the markets. Use risk control, know how to do that. And if you have any questions on that, hey, ask today. Also too, please, any of the ideas, or if we go over a trade and we make a trade recommendation, always run those by your financial advisor, because we don't know your personal situation, and of course they do. So that's really important. In terms of the book scenario, we have a variety of books pretty much covering every aspect of trading now. And my newest book is the Money Management for Traders book. And on this book here, it is basically what you need to know to implement a good, solid risk control program right away into your trading system. And the real benefit of this book is it's not a long-winded book. It's very concise. We give you what you need to know. It's very inexpensive. We want everybody to be using risk control. It comes in a variety of formats. So we just released it last month, and we have an audio format. So if you're on the road and you want to listen to it, you can. There's hardcover, soft cover, Kindle, and the whole 9 yards. And then also too, we got in the works a new Art of Trading book published by Wiley, coming out probably in about a year or so. All right, so that's where we are there. And then finally, of course, our trading system, which includes charting software, scanners, and risk control software. So we've got all that. All right, so a couple things I do want to cover today before we get going. By the way, here's TradeStation, and here's the new MTF on the final stage, testing stages. Okay, you can see it here on the radar screen. Kind of cool. All right, so we're almost getting ready to release that. Should be released, I think, in about a week. Okay, I just want to make sure everything is cool on it. I've got a couple people testing it, giving it the rigmarole. So we want to make sure it passes the test. We also, for TradeStation users only, we're updating the other software studies. And so we're including that in the update with the MTF because, you know, we combine all our software in one installer. It makes it simpler. Okay, so we're getting that all set up. So those using TradeStation, it's almost here. We appreciate the patience. And that's another reason why we, you know, offer the discount up front, because, you know, when you order something pre-release, we have a date that we expect it to be released, but it depends on the programming. All right, sometimes they run into something more difficult or something didn't pass the test, so we have to retest it. And so we want to make sure it's really good by the time we release it, and sometimes that adds some time onto it. And so that was the case with the MTF for TradeStation, but guess what? It's almost there. Testing is going really well. All right, so Aggie saying, been a number since slumber mode last month, waiting for the market to stabilize. Aggie, I think probably you're going to be able to find right around now some really good long trades, because A wave on the long-term charts, I think, is just about over, if not over. We may have one more little low on it. Not really sure. It's got to go a little higher before we can say it's over, but you're going to have a lot of good bullish trades on B wave. And for those of you that were caught by surprise with A wave coming down, you're going to have an opportunity to readjust your portfolios on B wave, because B wave will come up. It's a bullish wave. Please do that, because once C wave comes, we expect the market to go down into the teens. That's right, the teens. So probably next year, middle to the end of next year sometime. All right, so that's kind of the long-term forecast. If that interests you, definitely subscribe to the More and the Oracle Inner Circle so you can keep abreast of all the changes. The Oracle Inner Circle has text alerts. So basically, when you join that subscription service, we get your phone number and send you text alerts on major changes in the market. So that's how we keep you up to date on what to do, and also what vehicles, in other words, what products, what markets to invest in during the different cycles of the market. All right, so that varies a little differently from the More report, which gives you only the forecast on the short, intermediate, and long with the stock opportunities, whereas the Inner Circle is more what to do at certain stages of the cycle. So that's kind of the difference, in case you were wondering. So that's kind of it. All right, couple things I want to run by here. We got a couple of emails here on the art pyramids, and I just wanted to go over this real quick. All right, so everybody understands. You know, we have two kinds of pyramids. We have the confirmed and the unconfirmed. The unconfirmed default color on your platform is going to be yellow, but you can change that color to blue or any color that you need to. So that's just the default color. An unconfirmed pyramid, and I'll give you an example of a bullish one, is one where the market moves up and then pulls back, all right, and then kind of meanders, but not yet going above this point here. And if we break this type of pattern down, this is basically the start, or low one. We'll call it just low one, because these can form at any time during the trend. So we'll just call this a low one. And this is a high one. This is a low two. And if prices on this leg get above the high one, then that becomes a high two. Now, what is that pattern? What does that mean to you? Anybody? What does that pattern represent to you? And have you seen it in the markets? Probably seen it a lot. And what time frames? Do you see it on all time frames? Right, it's a trending pattern, correct. So basically, the definition of a trend, in this case an uptrend, is going to be higher lows and higher highs. On a downtrend is opposite. All right, so these are these little pockets in here where the pyramids can form, right? And I'll draw one in. So do they always form on these patterns? Do the pyramids always form on these patterns? What do you think? Those of you that are using the art software, Have you seen some patterns of low 1, H1, low 2, and H2, but no pyramid? I have. Okay, and the reason for that is when we have the pattern, the software is also looking at the momentum that went into forming the pattern. So there's momentum on different aspects of this pattern. There's momentum from low 1 to low high. We'll call this momentum 1. And then we have momentum coming down from high 1 to low 2. We'll call that M2. And then the momentum from low 2 to H2, and that we'll call M3. All right, so the coding in the software is looking at the momentum, and what we want to see is a high momentum on M3 as compared to the formula, which is proprietary, based on M1 and M2. And so we want to have a correlation where that M3 has some meaning, okay, and it's not just a fluke. So the pyramids will not form unless the momentum aspect of the calculation is what it needs to be to say that the momentum is strong enough for this to be a significant pattern. Okay, so I want to make that clear. Now, the next thing that the question we get a lot on, and I'm just going to erase some of these lines to clear things up a little bit, is that sometimes people have noticed that the pyramids don't actually form as a yellow pyramid. They sometimes just all of a sudden show up as a green, and they kind of don't understand why that happens. Well, here's the reasoning behind that. So when prices have not gotten above high 1 yet, but they're somewhere between L2 and H2, kind of like where they are here, the pyramid is going to be yellow. And we like to give you that information so you can get ready for the trade. And this allows you to know where the trade is going to be entered, because you're going to enter one tick past the high 1 or apex of the pyramid. And your stop's going to be right below low 2, the price bar of low 2, which creates the flat part of the triangle at the bottom. And so that allows you to do your risk calculations so you can put a limit order in or whatever kind of order, or just be ready to enter with the proper trade size. Okay, so let me know if you know, if you need a little more elaboration on that. But that's one of the reasons for the unconfirmed. Now, let's go back to that momentum aspect of what happens when the pyramid forms. A lot of times, okay, you'll get a situation here where you have the pullback, and then you'll have some price bars after L2, so after here. The pyramid is not going to turn to a yellow, okay, until you have 3 price bars printed. So it wouldn't turn yellow until this price bar. So if, for example, this price bar didn't exist, there would be no pyramid at all, yellow, nothing. It would just look like prices. When this prints, if there's enough momentum, it will turn at that particular point yellow. Now, that means you have to wait for prices to spring off L2. And the reason for that is, don't forget, the software is doing internal calculations for the momentum from L2 to H2 after the spring off. And it needs 3 price bars to do that, to get an accurate reading. So that's why it takes some time for the actual pyramid to show up as a yellow. However, there's another scenario. What happens if we have another scenario where prices come up here, pull back, spring up, and then go whoom? Okay, so here's your L1, here's your H1, here's your L2, and we're sitting way up here on high 2. Are you going to see a pyramid here? No, because we've only had how many price bars? 1, 2, 3. We need one more before the pyramid can paint. And so sometimes in this scenario, prices are already above the apex. So the pyramid is just going to automatically turn green. You're going to get no yellow, no unconfirmed pyramids. And sometimes in fast moving markets, you'll see this. Now, what do you do? Well, if you're considering a trade, you're going to have to take current prices, and the current stop would be way down here, and you're going to have to calculate your trade size based on where prices are, because you will have not gotten in at the ideal entry above H1. You may or may not take the trade, or you may wait and see if you get a pullback and can get in near the apex. It depends on how much profit you think the trade is going to yield. In other words, if this is the beginning of a big move, you may want to get in way up here. But if you're only trading a retracement, and by the time the pyramid turns green, the risk to reward is not there, then you might have to pass or wait for a pullback. Okay. Now, the other question that's come up with this is some people mistake this scenario with delayed data. And it's not delayed data. This is the software working as the data is unfolding. Delayed data refers to data being throttled by your data provider. That's a different scenario, okay? Or your internet connection. If you're using wireless, sometimes your data can be slower, okay? So that's not what this is referring to. Any questions on this? I just wanted to make sure this was clear, okay? Because this is kind of something that is important. And then one more thing I just wanted to bring up here as well is that let's say, well, let's just do this. We don't even have to draw the price bars. Let's say we get a pattern like this, and we get a pyramid here, and then we get a pattern here like this, and we get a pyramid here. So your entry is going to be over here when prices get above high 1, and your stop's going to be here. So this is your risk. Okay. And then this is your entry over here, and this is your risk. Now, let me ask you a question. We'll call this A, and we'll call this scenario B. The risk is greater in scenario B, right? Because the pyramid is larger. The distance from the entry to the exit is greater than it is on point A. So what's the trade size going to be at point B, larger or smaller than A? What's the trade size? Larger or smaller? And if you don't know, that's okay, but this is an important point for you to realize. What do you think? Larger or smaller? The more distance, right, the correct key, correct. The more distance between the entry and the exit, the smaller the trade size. So on larger pyramids versus smaller ones, the trade size, okay, here is going to be smaller. This is going to be larger on A. And that's because the raw risk, all right, is further apart on B. Now remember, when we solve for trade size, which is also known as position size, all right, the variable that changes is the position size, the number of shares or contracts, depending on what vehicle you're trading. And so the stops can be any distance they need to be. And yet the percent risk on that trade in terms of what the loss is going to be whatever you decide you want it to be. So if you have a $50,000 account, 2% risk on that is $1,000, right? So we'll call that 1K. So your loss is never going to be more than 1,000. That's a fixed amount. What's going to change in order to keep that a fixed amount is the trade size. Now, a lot of people get confused on that, especially just starting out. So, you know, when we bring up the trade size calculator, it has all the calculations built into it so that it solves that equation for you. So it's always giving you a trade size so your loss never exceeds 2% of your account size. And in this example, that would be $1,000. Okay, any questions? All right, so now, does anybody have any questions on the course they're taking, software? You know, we had a great session yesterday. We have the live trading room, so if you're interested in that, you know, look at your email because we have some guest passes for a week in there. It's a lot of fun. Scott, if you're here, let me see. Scott, Ricky, you are here. How are you? You need to contact Jean today regarding your subscription to that, okay? Let's see what else we got cooking here. So, okay, cool. Also, too, a couple things on tech support that I want to cover. As you know, when you buy software from us, we give you 30 days of tech support, which means our software engineer, Mark, will go onto your computer and get you set up, all right? Now, what we need you guys to do is before he gets there, all right, we need to make sure all your Windows updates are done. So you need to go into the Windows control panel and go to updates and run it and see if there's any updates you have to manually install. The cumulative updates in Windows normally do not install automatically. You have to manually do those, and they take a long time sometimes. So if Mark gets on your computer and those have to be installed, then that's kind of a, you know, that kind of throws a wrench in the work, so to speak, because it's going to take a while for that to happen, and you may have to come back. The other thing too is also make sure your charting platform is updated. Nobody's gonna send you an email. You know, Ninja's not, TradeStation usually updates it automatically, but sometimes they miss it. But you need to be proactive on both these points. So, you know, Windows, you need to be proactive and check once a week to see if there is an update sitting there that did not get automatically installed. And then the second thing is, you know, I always check my platform every week as well, just to make sure I'm running the latest version. Okay, sometimes the platforms notify you, sometimes they don't. So you got to be proactive on that. And then finally, as a trader, if you are an active trader, day trading or anything like that, do not use wireless. Okay, that's going to slow you down. If you're a trader that has symbols, wireless is not the way to go. It's going to also be very slow in loading all your symbols and historical data. So always hardwire in when you can. Now, if you're on vacation or something like that, obviously, you know, you may not be able to hardwire in. But as a general rule, when you're home, always hardwire your computer in. Otherwise, things could get slow, okay? And again, like we mentioned previously, if you're using a third-party vendor, let's say you're using Ninja and you're importing, for example, TD Ameritrade data, call TD Ameritrade and make sure they're not throttling your data. Make sure you're getting enough history and speed, because that's technically some of the brokerages, what they do is they throttle their data. Yeah, they give it to you for free because that's what they advertise, but they throttle it. And unless you call and tell them not to do that, you're going to get throttled data because they're trying to save money, right? So you want to make sure you call them to get that thing turned on so you're having streaming data quickly. All right, again, you'll notice very slow loading if they're throttling data, even on a hardwired internet. So make sure you got that taken care of. Let's see what else, other little tidbits I can say. Mark's job, who's our software engineer, is to install your software. He's not a trader, all right? I've instructed him on how to set your platforms up so they kind of look like mine if you want, but he's not going to set up, 10 workspaces for you. That's not his job. You need to do that. You need to know how to set your own workspaces up. And every platform has an area with tutorials and questions that you may have. You can go right to the platform. Same thing with connecting to third-party data. Platforms change a lot. So work with the platform support team if you're having trouble connecting to data or there seems to be a problem with the platform. All right, so that way you're getting somebody in that company that knows that platform backwards and forwards and knows the latest updates, okay? So that way they can make sure everything is working with your platform. And if you're having trouble and you're about to have a tech support with Mark, make sure you get with them, get with your charting platform support team before you meet with Mark. That way you make sure your platform's up and running before we do a remote installation. Now, after 30 days, all right, you have to pay for support services. And, we pay Mark, so we got to pass that on to you. Now, we offer remote services as a service, okay? It's just something we offer for those people that need additional help. There is a fee for that, okay? So it's not free, all right? So wish we could do it for free, but we can't, okay? In the real world, you gotta pay people, right? So that's a service, though, that I think is very beneficial for people, because we certainly don't want you not to be able to get updated and all that kind of stuff when you need to. You may not have the time to do it yourself. So Mark is there. The service is there if you need it. You don't have to use it. All our software comes with full installation instructions. So technically, you could install everything yourself. All the instructions are there. So you can do it all yourself. And all the instructions are contained in the software download file. So when you go to our website, the software download area is in the client support area. So you have to log in to the client support area. I also call that customer hub because that's who runs it. All right, so you have to log in there, and then on the home page, go down to software downloads, and then you click on the charting platform, and then it will take you to the page where you can download the software. Now, when you download the software, it's usually just one folder, and it's called a zip file. We do that because the download is quicker. So you download and more secure. So you download that to your desktop or your documents folder, wherever you want it, and you unzip it, and then go into the folder and run the installer. Now, if you run the installer and you happen to get a pop-up from your virus protection system saying that they've quarantined it or put it someplace, go in and approve it, because that's what they call a false flag. A lot of software can be flagged inappropriately by certain software security programs. So you want to approve it and then run it. And then once you run it, then you open the platform. And if it's a brand new installation on a new computer or a new hard drive, you'll probably have to enter in your activation codes. If it's a computer you've used previously but just wanted to run an update, then you're probably not going to get asked for any of your activation codes, okay? But if you do and you don't have them, just let us know and we'll resend them, okay? We can reset everything for you. Now, if you get a new computer, same thing. Let us know if you get a new computer, and we'll reset and resend your codes. And it's the same codes, but sometimes they do need to be reset because they have a 2-computer max activation. So if you get another computer, you might exceed the current activation because the activation system doesn't know you're on a new computer. Okay, it just thinks it's a 3rd computer. So you do need to let us know so we can reset that. Any questions on that, let me know, okay? So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I just wanted to go over some of those miscellaneous little good to know things. All right, so if you have any other questions, feel free. Otherwise, I think we'll call it a day because I don't see any other questions coming in. And I hope everybody's having a good summer, good time. And anything else, any last minute, anythings? Let's see what we got. Yes, the MTF software, all right, should be released, I think, in about a week, okay? If we can do it sooner, we'll do it sooner, but I think about a week, okay? All right, let's see what we got. Can you send me a link to the Oracle Inner Circle product? Sure, okay. Gene, I'll let you hop on that. Okay, great. All right, anything else? All right, one last thing I'll just say. I do think we've begun the long-term correction, but it's a long-term correction. So you're going to have periods of bullishness, but ultimately the high that was put in at the end of the year, we think, nothing's guaranteed, but we think the probabilities indicate that that's the last high we'll see for about 3 to 4 years. Okay, we do not think the market will be above that again for quite some time. In fact, we think the market will probably get down to around, I'm going to say around 18 to 15,000 on the market by the time it's all done. Not this year. It won't be until we're well into next year. But I do think that will happen. And then, of course, we have to climb out of it after that. B wave, we could see some bullishness here. We may have one more slight low. Okay, I think by the end, I'm going to say by the end of this month, I think A wave should be over on the long-term charts. And after that, we're going to have a long-term B wave. B wave is bullish, and it can be extremely bullish. So you can trade that to the long side. We've got a lot of new long trades that we're going into to take advantage of B wave. And so if you look at the charts, many of the charts have shown a possible bottom in. And so you kind of want to take advantage of that. And so you can enjoy the ride up on B wave. Just always use stops because after B wave, then of course we got C wave, which is the next big bearish move down. We never know what starts C wave. It's usually something out of left field we don't see coming. Okay, so just be ready for it. The other thing too is that if you have not had a chance to look at your long-term trades, because you probably made a lot of money on some of your investments, get with your financial advisor and talk about what to do, all right, to lighten those up a little bit if you anticipate the market, like I do, going down into the teens. Okay, B wave will give you an opportunity to readjust your portfolio. So as the market moves up, and it could move up a couple thousand points from here. So if it moves back up, that's going to put you still at a nice range on your long-term investments to take some profits. I'm not saying necessarily to sell them all. I'm not your financial advisor. I can't recommend what you do with your specific portfolio because I don't know what's in it and so forth. But if you certainly talk to them and come up with a game plan on what if the market sells off after B wave, you're ready to go. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to do is tell you, have a game plan in place, okay? All right, let's see what else we got. Key is saying, great explanation of the pyramids. Great, yeah, it's a question we get a lot, so I just wanted to make sure everybody's got that. All right, and I think that's it. All right, so listen, I want to thank everybody for coming. Good turnout today. Appreciate you being here. And if you are a TradeStation user or you're waiting for the MTF, we'll let you know, okay? You'll get a specific email with a download link and the whole 9 yards when that is ready. About a week, okay? Other than that, have a great summer, and we'll see you back here next week.